Today on the newscast, Russia is now demanding that Israel halt all airstrikes in Syria. How will Israel's interim prime minister respond? Get all the breaking details next. Hey folks, Eric Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman newscast from vacation. I'm with my family for a few days at an undisclosed location, having a nice time and getting some rest and relaxation. Don't worry, you might say, hey, you're on vacation. You should not come to us with any newscast this week. I have the permission of the Watchwoman, my beautiful wife, to do a few videos this week in the morning before everyone else wakes up. So I wanted to come to you real quick here and give you some breaking news updates. Look, yesterday was the 4th of July here in the States, so we did not have a newscast. I wanted to jump right back into it today because we have some important updates for you. A lot happened over this weekend, and I want to get you up to speed. Before I do, I just want to encourage you to subscribe to the Watchman newscast right here on YouTube and click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new video is posted. Even from vacation, we are coming to you because the Middle East never sleeps, and we want to break down why it matters to you no matter where you live. You may hear some background noise today because I am outside. I'm not inside of a studio like I normally would be, of course, but we hope you will bear with us because we have some important breaking news for you. Russia now condemning Israel over airstrikes in Syria. But folks, not only condemning Israel, flat out demanding that Israel halt all airstrikes in Syria. Now, this is an escalation, I would say. Before, Russia continuously, and we've documented this for you on the newscast many times over the past few months, Russia has been continuously condemning Israel in the strongest terms and making vile accusations against Israel, quite frankly, over those airstrikes in Syria, targeting Russia's good buddies, the Iranian regime and Hezbollah, and those advanced weapon systems that Iran is trying to transit through Syria into the hands of Hezbollah in southern Lebanon to be used against Israel. Israel wisely is preemptively attacking these weapon shipments in Syria. That is why we have seen hundreds of airstrikes conducted by Israel in Syria over the past few years, not to mention the fact that Iran is also trying to push to the Israel-Syria border and have a foothold on the Golan Heights from which it can launch attacks against Israel. All that said, Israel has acted strongly to prevent this Iranian entrenchment in Syria, and Russia is none too happy. Remember, Russia has thousands of troops also in Syria right now. Folks, they effectively control Syrian airspace, and they are aligned, our Russian forces there in Syria, with Israel's greatest enemies, whether it's the Iranian regime, Hezbollah, or the Assad regime in Syria, which brings us to this latest Russian condemnation, why it came and what went down. Over the weekend, Saturday night, July 2nd, or I should say early morning, July 2nd, Israel reportedly carried out airstrikes once again in Syria, in Tartus, just south of Tartus, near the Mediterranean coast. Now, Israeli fighter jets reportedly targeted advanced Iranian weapon shipments. Surprise, surprise, once again, in this case, Iranian air defense systems, which, according to some Middle East media reports, could be game-changing if they were deployed in Syria. Now, obviously, this would be a red line for Israel, and Israel reportedly acted, again, south of Tartus, there near the Mediterranean coast, to take out these Iranian air defense systems. That's one report. We have other reports out of the region saying that Israel was once again not just targeting, but targeting weapon shipments that were aimed to be delivered to Hezbollah. Perhaps, since this strike was near the coast, perhaps these shipments were made via the Mediterranean Sea. We're not quite sure, but if Israel is conducting an airstrike in Syria, folks, you can rest assured it's for a very good reason, and some sort of advanced weapon system, be it air defense systems, be it precision-guided missile parts, PGM parts, which we've talked about so frequently here on the newscast, that was the likely target here. Now, know this, that there are Russian troops stationed very close to Tartus. Whether they were stationed there or not, Russia would be none too happy about these airstrikes. But here is the official statement. I'm going to read it to you right off my laptop. I do not want to misquote Maria Zakharova. Remember her? We've quoted her pretty frequently here on the newscast. over the past few months. She is the Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman, and here is what she said. This is a big deal, and it's an escalation in rhetoric from Vladimir Putin's regime. Quote, "We strongly condemn such irresponsible actions that violate the sovereignty of Syria and the basic norms of international law. And we," key point here, folks, "and we demand their unconditional cessation. We want you," and here goes the background noise, apologies. "We want you, Israel, to cease all airstrikes in Syria." Not just we want you to, we demand that you cease all airstrikes in Syria. This from the top Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman. Certainly the word demand is a game changer. Now things are ramping up, and Israel clearly is not going to discontinue its strikes against Iran and Syria. To do so would put the security of the Jewish state in jeopardy. Is this just a throwaway statement, an obligatory statement from Russia? Folks, I don't think so. This keeps with an escalation in rhetoric over the past few months. Now it went from "we condemn Israel" to "we demand that Israel stop all airstrikes in Syria." And guess what? To Russia's mind, they have the power to put an end to those airstrikes. Again, they effectively control the skies in Syria right now, does Vladimir Putin's regime. This is just, again, the latest in a long line of condemnations, but now we have demands, and we have clearly tensions between Israel and Russia ramping up. And you have to think that Iran, Hezbollah, Syria, Russia's friends in Syria, are saying, hey, when are you going to step up and put a stop to these airstrikes? Israel is embarrassing us, and by extension, they're embarrassing you. So we'll see where it all leads, but you have to think this may be a test for Yair Lapid. Not only what's happening in Syria, what will he do? The new interim Israeli prime minister just sworn in a few days ago. We have obviously the Syria situation, how to handle Russia. Lapid, when he was foreign minister, was very strong against Russia when it came to Ukraine. Will that continue now that he's prime minister? Israel, of course, has struck this delicate balance there with Russia, all because of Syria, so as not to anger Russia and no longer have freedom of movement in Syria. Israel wants to maintain that. So we'll see how Lapid responds to this. You also had an incident this weekend where you could see it as a probing type incident where Hezbollah flew 3 reconnaissance drones towards Israel's Karish gas rig, natural gas rig, off the Mediterranean coast. Those drones were eliminated. They were destroyed. But again, is this probing a new untested leader in Yair Lapid? And you have to think Iran and its proxies are going to perhaps test the waters. Last thought here before I go. You have to laugh and shake your head at the irony of Russia talking about someone else violating another country's sovereignty and international law, considering what Russia is doing in Ukraine right now. So folks, we're keeping this all in prayer, number one, and we hope you are too. But number two, we're watching it very closely, even from vacation. Again, the Middle East never sleeps, and the Watchman is watching for you. One last note, tomorrow, Wednesday, July 6th, we will have a Watchman Newscast live stream between 4 and 5 p.m. Eastern Time. I will return from the beach, shaking the sand off a little bit, and I will join you live between 4 and 5 p.m. Eastern Time, as always. So be sure to bring your questions for our Q&A session for such a time as this. Until tomorrow, from vacation, but can't stay away from you guys. God bless you. Until tomorrow, remember, never hold your peace. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. If you enjoyed this episode and want to see more, make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, click subscribe, and tap the bell icon to turn on notifications for new Watchman Newscast episodes every weekday.